Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Baston, and joining me is co-host Dennis Brown, and we have with us this evening two former cup match players from the East End, Clay Smith and Dean Miners. Well, many would remember these two as they came through the ranks of St. George's, Dennis, and both of them started kind of at the same time underage playing in the St. George's team, and I think I can remember back when you guys first started, St. George's was struggling to make 80 runs in a game. But then obviously growing into things and players coming back, obviously Wendell coming back into the fold and the like, and built kind of a dynasty for a number of years. I know Dennis is holding his head because he held his head for many years while you guys constantly tormented him and his Somerset team. But Dennis, obviously, as the lone person from the West End tonight, I'll let you start off tonight.
Unbelievable. Good night, guys. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have both of you. Like Earl said, I watched you guys come through, not just in cricket, but football, too. A lot of people may not know both of you were excellent in both sports, but it's a pleasure to have you guys here. I also got a text from a Somerset fan today stating that why are we always got these St. George's guys on the show? So at the end of the day, St. George's were totally dominant, and I'll be honest, totally dominant. Like in my early years, my first victory I saw was 1979, and even in the 80s with you guys' team, and we're going to talk about that team you guys had. Because you guys were almost unbeatable, you know what I mean? And like Earl said, it was like total frustration. My President's Camp guys used to try to smack talk you guys all game, but you know what I mean? But that seemed to inspire you guys because I know you guys are, true champions. So it's a pleasure for us to have you on the show tonight, and we're going to ask you some questions. Some questions.
As he clears his throat.
That's all I'm going to tell Dean, some questions. And we'll go from there. So to both of you guys, the first question I usually ask is, when did you guys, because I know you guys went to Whitney as well together, and when did you first get into cricket, and who was a big influence on both of you at that time? Anybody?
Well, Dean and I got into cricket at a very, very young age. We grew up around the club. I mean, Dean and I, we had Troy Hall and this guy Dwayne Richardson. The four of us would play non-stop on a daily basis. It was either over the cricket club or down Mullet Bay Park. That's where we started, and then we got to a point where some of the guys around the clubs were having no yard cricket games out in the backyard there on the field, and they was like, hey, you guys want to play? Because and they welcomed us. So we started playing with some of the older guys like Ricky Hutsu and these guys that were playing around the club, Chick Adams, and these guys. When they realized that we could handle our end, they brought us into the field and let us start playing some there. But that's where we got up from the tennis ball days, and like I said, Dean and I, if we didn't play cricket every single day, I mean every day, literally, to the point that our mothers would be calling us and say, Dean, I remember his mom used to tell her, Dean, come get your son. Dean would shout out to his mom, your mom will come here as soon as I get Clay out.
The man that couldn't build.
Yeah, so it's, and I'll be honest with you, it was tough for me because Dean used to chalk. If anybody knows, Dean couldn't bowl, but he used to chalk. So that's how I got used to. That's how I got so good place in fast bowling, was having to come up around Dean, bowling that cheap. Yeah,
he was Malinga before
Oh, that's funny. So Clay, who was a big influence on you?
No doubt, my brother Wendell was the biggest influence on me growing up. At the age of 13, he actually took me over to England to Alf Gerber's cricket school. So we went there for a 2-week training camp. We was there, and it's funny. Something happened while we were there. We were the England and West Indies test was playing. I'll never forget it because back then you had the Gordon Greenwich, the Haynes, the Viv Richards, and it was like the 5th day of the test, and the test was in the balance. And the night before, my brother and I was having a conversation, and we was like, "Look, should we ask Alfred we could go watch the test tomorrow?" So we said, "All right, let's go first thing in the morning. See if he'll give us a little blind. Let us go watch." So the guy says, "Gentlemen, did you come here to learn cricket or to watch cricket?"
Oh, wow.
And that was the end of that. So I just looked at my brother. I said, I guess we know what we're gonna do, huh? So we never even watch. And I think Greenwich scored a double century that day or something like that. So I'm having to just stay there and train for the time. But yeah, Vando definitely inspired me a lot with my upbringing. Spent numerous hours with me in the nets hitting tennis balls. If I didn't face thousands of tennis balls with him, days before games, all of that. So he was definitely the biggest inspiration for me.
Yeah, I guess for me, when I started to develop the chalk was because I got tired of eating cold meals. Because I used to come home and a warm hot meal. I used to have a warm hot meal, and then playing cricket with Clay, the chalk developed because of the cool meals I used to eat. So I had to do something. I thought of something. But no, Clay was right in everything that he went ahead and said. Don't need to repeat that. I mean, we played. That's all we did. We just went ahead and played as much as we possibly could. I think the biggest influence for me coming through was definitely Vandal, playing with Clay and Vandal. I always was invited. Let's go ahead and play. And of course, Vandal had that knowledge. And of course, being a teacher, he knew how to captivate us. He knew what to say, and he was always inspiring. The other gentleman that it was inspiring to me was Bob Jones, and Clay will probably remember Bob Jones. And we used to get excited because Bob Jones used to come around to the schools, and of course it was like 90 degrees outside. Here's a man coming in with a full cricket outfit with a sweater on, and he would go ahead, and I used to go East End Primary. Clay used to go prep, and Bob Jones would come in and set up drills. And I think one of the things that pushed me along even more about wicket keeping was Bob Jones gave me up at National Stadium. They must have had a cricket festival, and I got a Schlesinger bat. But all the other players got bats because they did good in batting. He gave me a Schlesinger bat because I was a good wicket keeper, and he really appreciated my keeping. So of course, at that time you had Dennis Wainwright, you had Alan Douglas. So I mean, that's all I watched. But yeah, the biggest influence in my career would have to be at that, definitely at that time, was Bob Jones and Wendell Smith.
But let me add to that, Dennis. You guys talk about the amount of time that you spent playing, and obviously Wendell helping out with the drills and all. Do you think that time spent, although you wouldn't have appreciated as much as the batting, I'm talking about the drills of playing the cover drive, of on drive, and all that, the repetitious stuff. Do you guys now appreciate that time? Because we see a lot of times now guys don't spend time doing that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. And to be quite honest, there was times where I used to get frustrated at my brother because if you know Wendell, he's a perfectionist, honestly. And there'll be times when I was really young, before I started playing senior cricket, so I'm talking about 10, 11, 12 days, where we would be doing drills and he'd be teaching, okay, today I want to teach you this new shot. And we'll be working on it, and and he'd be like, no, you play it like this. And I'm like, you know what? I really just want to enjoy cricket like that. And he'd be drilling me so much so that once or twice I would even shout a little turd because I'm getting frustrated, But I appreciate it because when you get older and that ball's in that same spot, it's like body mechanics. It's automatic, you know what I mean? So yeah, you take a lot from it. And now it's okay, let me pass on this knowledge to these youngsters. And all I'm trying to, with these guys, the biggest thing with them is just trying to get them to practice with a purpose. practice with a purpose, and so that they're not wasting the time. Whenever they come to a training session, I want to make sure that they're getting something out of that session. And so a lot of, you'll see me now, even today, let's do some tennis ball work, but I do it with a purpose and make sure that they're very serious about doing it and help them to understand why we're doing it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the other end because I used to bet down the order, but remember, coming through, all we guys used to do was like idolize different players. So not only West Indies players, but local players. So Charlie and Clevie were probably my local players that I used to want to emulate my game. And the only reason why was because they hit the ball. You know, Charlie's going to, take a swipe, but, and then watching Clevie hit. So when I used to do drills with Vandal and Clay, it was almost like a lion inside of me that wanted to hit the ball. So we're doing cover drives. And I'm going to tell you, Vandal would do like 50 cover drives, no problem. And it has to go through the current. So the expectations was high. But Clay would tell you, one of those cover drives again mid-wicket, mate. I'm taking this. And he used to think something was wrong with me. Like, I'm just like, I can't, like, because I was so, like, Clay would tell you, his discipline. Me, I'm taking a swipe. And one of those boys, Randall would be like, what are you doing? I said, sorry. But
Gotta go cross the line once.
Yeah, I had to get out of his system.
Exactly. I had to get out of my system. But that's what training was. That's what it was.
Yeah. Dennis?
Yeah, one picture, because Colin Thompson posts a lot of pictures. And one picture that really captivated me was a high school picture of you guys at Whitney. Beaver Ray, Corey Hill, Sean Gooder. I think I saw Ronson there, Sean Deal. So I'm assuming you guys came second to Warwick Sack, right, in cricket? Cricket and football. But hey, man, that was a team to be reckoned with, like even in senior cricket. How did you guys, feel coming through together, in Whitney, and how did you guys fare in junior cricket coming through? It was easy.
It was interesting because there was a lot of high expectations of us because we were playing. That was early. Like we started playing for St. George's like when we was 14. So we were at Whitney when we were playing for St. George's in senior cricket. So the expectation level for us was like, we're just gotta field out. Dean and Clays can make all the runs. You know what I mean? Type of mentality. But like you said, we had guys at Whitney like Corey Hill. You had actually Albert ran Whitney as well.
Albert Steed.
And then just behind us, you had Glenn and Lionel. So it was a rich history of sports at Whitney with cricket and football, to be quite honest. So we just try to enjoy it. We use school sports more for enjoyment than anything. Where we try to that was like our dawn time to really just enjoy cricket and get away from all the seriousness of it.
I mean, Dennis, at that time we had shower cricket as well, and I think going to Whitney because Whitney absolutely was regarded as a sports school. Earl would know this. Yeah. It was like a sports academy, and you had the best of the best, and nobody wanted to, sort of like I don't feel good enough. I mean, playing with Sean Gooder, and Gooder wasn't too bad of a cricketer either, but the expectations was really high for everybody. I mean. Beaver and Corey Hill and these guys were good athletes, man, and they trained.
Right.
They were not afraid to put the work in and train. And of course, you play with them on a weekday, and then on a Saturday you're meeting up against them, and they even trying harder. Like you got the Devonshire, who won the shower cricket, and then you're playing against Hamilton Parish against Corey, and they're really trying their hardest. But Clay is right. We did use that time to, enjoy ourselves. But, that level of expectation was put on us very early, extremely early at St. George's. And we were exposed to top level information. When you got, of course, Lionel Thomas, Neil Gibbons,
Gibbons, yeah.
You got these guys that are And remember, the conversations back then in the change room was different. I mean, these guys after the game, after training session, they're talking strategy. They're talking about how to deal with a cover drive. They're talking about field placement. It wasn't no, chatter. It was talk. So remember that these guys, we're constantly listening.
Just before I go on or Earl goes on, can you explain to me what you said about Gouda as a cricketer? We're not talking about number 11 batsman or something like that.
No,
how was Gouda as a cricketer?
Gouda was he was a decent little bowler. He was funny in a bill,
Okay.
He might be don't let nothing fiery come at him. He's a little security control. By the time he is a decent little bowler.
Okay.
Gouda would say, "Look, I'll bowl him, or you guys get the runs."
and then they say, "Oh, hey, I'll go down fine leg," and so the ball don't come to me. Yeah, he was good. He was good.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Earl.
Know your strengths. That's what that comes on.
That's it.
Know your strengths. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with Dean and Clay with a walk down memory lane. We'll be right back.
Nuco is a company impressively dedicated to the production of coconut concoctions. Their motto is coconuts for life, and however that resonates, it seems to have done the trick for vegan snack lovers. Nuco uses 3 ingredients in their wraps: pure organic and GMO-free coconut meat, coconut water, and unrefined virgin coconut oil. Nuco extols them as the all-natural alternative to bread and tortillas. This month we're featuring gluten-free Nuco organic coconut wraps in a 5-pack. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Dennis?
Yeah, so you guys said you played cricket for senior cricket at early ages. How did you feel about that? And how old were you guys when you first played senior cricket for St. George's?
Well, for me, I was 14 years old when I first played they had open day cricket back then. So, I come in like number 8 or 9 at the time, and my role was just simply try not to get out. So, we'd be looking to bat, and I'll just try and bat as long as possible. So it wasn't I didn't have any pressure on me in terms of making runs, because open cricket was like, okay, bat all day. And so I just started my game developing by trying to just bat as long as I possibly could, But then I was introduced to, I'll not forget this, my first game was actually against one of my first games was against Warwick. So I had big Al James. And that's now I'll forget. I'll tell you right now, Al James. When you start playing a little bit, and people are like, who's this little boy? This Randall Smith's son, brother? Okay. Al James came in, one of the very first delivery he built me this bouncer, and I tried to duck out the way. It flew at me on the ground. I fell back on the floor, and Al James literally ran and followed through and stood right over me. This is a man's game, son. And I'm there laying on the ground, stiff. I said, well, you got to say too much longer. It was about 2 balls later. Yeah, but that was my introduction to senior cricket.
Right.
And that was like, I'll never forget that. He was intimidating. Yeah.
Was that before the helmets, or you had a helmet on?
I had a helmet on. But they didn't have the side pieces.
Right.
It was at the side pieces, Yeah.
So Dean, how old were you when you?
Yeah, I was 15. I actually took over the gloves from Louis Fogo, Bossy Fogo.
Okay.
Yeah, we played against Police at one time, and I remember taking over the gloves. I got a stomping. But within that same year, when I was 15, that's when the youth tournament was hurt. And I think prior to me, I think that actually got me into the team with the youth team. I took over the gloves and I gained confidence within that same year because in 1985, of course, you remember Darren Lewis, he was the captain of the youth team. So that gave me a lot of confidence going into that youth team. But like Clay, I was, senior cricket was a baptism by fire. I remember one particular incident, and may rest in peace, is Nick Hollis. Baylor's Bay, they used to chirp. So now I'm coming to the wicket, you know, and Nick Hollis turned to me and looked at me. What you want out here, boy? And it wasn't friendly. It was like, hey, what I do? Like he said, what you want out here? Just a man's game. And then all of a sudden, you got Noel, you got Charlie, and everybody's chirping. And Nick was bowling to me. I think like playing the bay, he bowled to me, and then the guy was staring at me like, hey, like what did I do? What? Like seriously, hey, it was so intimidating.
Yeah.
And that really hardened me up. And after the game, I'm thinking this guy's bipolar. Like after the game, he came up to me, hey, well done, bye. So those were the times that, yeah, man, you don't know if these guys were serious or not. It was borderline. But you had to, as Charlie would, Charlie was still to say, hey, you better get tough, bye. This is a man's game. So we had to grow up fast.
And let's talk a little bit about that, because as the years go on, you guys start moving up the order. What kind of settled you into the team after maybe 2 or 3 years? Because obviously, like Clay, you said you was 8 or 9, and Dean, you would have been the same thing. But now you start moving up as the team gets kind of younger, because there was a time where the team was a bit older.
Yeah, but just like any team, when Randall came into, he wanted to rebuild the whole program. So some of the older guys started to go out of the game, and they want to restructure the team or whatever. And he looked at me as an early order bat afterwards, and he gave me a chance up the order. And I was one of those guys, if you give me a chance, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it by both hands, And I got a couple of good scores under my belt or whatever. So then, him and I eventually end up opening bat together, and I just went from there. I just grew in confidence, getting a couple of good scores. And it's funny because when you're younger, you play off of, and I think Coach Huck used to tell me this, is when you're young, you really just play off of instinct. You don't have much fear. You just play. Like you don't worry about all the technical stuff and all that. You're just out there and enjoying yourselves. And you see the ball big and early. You know what I mean? And you're fearless. Back then, I used to be like Dean, to be honest. After a while, I used to watch Graham Fox, and I was saying, like, this guy just beats guys. Graham used to come in, and he could build the first ball in the block, and he'll drive you for 4. I'm like, I like that. I want to be that type of player. So after a while, when I was 16, 17, you would know, you saw my dick. Like, I will come in, I'll destroy guys from jump. Right. You come wrong, I'm going to hit you long. You know what I mean? So I had that type of mentality at my early ages. But then something happened when I was about 19, 20. I started, when you start getting out a little bit too early or too soon, I had to restructure my whole game because I love to bat. And so I had to then taper it a little bit as I got in my older days, But
Yeah. Dean?
I guess for me, it was developing a good keeper, but also I think what Rondo added to my game was he wanted me to be a good batsman at the end, towards the tail. So I used to bat, because long I was in the field, but towards the end, I mean, you saw Dougie, Alan Douglas, he was a good, keeper and batsman at the time. So what Rondo, I guess, wanted to do was develop me more into a batsman, more of a wicket-keep batsman, or, and keep developing that. Because he felt that towards the end of the game, if I needed to stay around, he wanted somebody to be disciplined enough that could close the game out, and so be responsible enough. So he basically told me how important it was to bat, and then that's why I decided to, because there were sometimes I always worry about wicket keeping, but he was like, oh, no, you got to balance this thing out. So that's where he made me believe that was very important.
Dennis?
To both of you, man, one of the things that I really liked watching you guys is, and people confuse confidence with arrogance. One thing that really impressed me about both of you was your confidence. Like, you'll see Clay walk into the wicket, and my boys will tell you, like, when Clay is batting, I'm watching. DeBron's watching. He used to like watch Clay Smith bat. You know what I mean? And that was, his probably him and Charlie are probably my two favorite St. George's players, favorite batsmen. So where did that and you were arrogant, because I mean I will admit I was arrogant when I played football too. I used to talk so much crap, but where did that confidence come from? Because you came through as a quality batsman. Um, in my eyes was the batsman that I've seen bat probably in my first three. Dean, quality wicket keeper. You know, if the wicket keepers that I've seen probably in my first three as well. So to both of you guys, where did that confidence and at times cockiness, because you admit you were cocky, but at the end of the day, I love that because that shows me you're totally confident in your delivery. So where did all that come from?
Playing for St. George's. Playing for St. George's. We grew up playing for St. George's, and there was an expectation of high standards. When we played for St. George's, it got to a point where we were still young into the team, just probably, like I said, young, but there was a mentality in St. George's that is not if we're going to win, we're going to win. It's just how much we're going to win by. That was the mentality that was built in that team, and that filtered through everybody. You know what I mean? So as youngsters coming into that team, we knew that we had to maintain their standards. You know what I mean? That we had to step up to the plate. And then there were some personal things, like personal goals for myself, especially coming into the field. I had an older brother, Randall, and it's funny because my old man, my father, Bojangles, rest in peace. Bojangles used to tell everybody. Bojangles used to literally bet people that Randall would make more money, more runs than me. He has bet every week. He'll bet somebody. Randall's going to make more runs than me. So psychologically,
right.
That like. As a youngster growing up, I'm saying, well, okay, I'm looking at Randall as back then. Randall was like, in my eyes, one of the best, if not the best batsman, opening bats in the island. And I'm saying, okay, well, that's my benchmark to start off with. You know what I mean? So I always had that challenge of making sure I maintain high standards and try to do just that much better. You know what I mean? But the step it was set just from playing with St. George's. Like those guys did not expect. They didn't allow us to have low standards.
It's good. Dan?
Yeah, I think Clay is right when you talk about expectations. I mean, Dennis, when I came into St. George's team, and then I'm talking about wanting to play cup match, but taking over the gloves from Alan Douglas, I mean, I had to put my work in. I mean, my cousin, I love him, double minus. He was straight up honest with me. Him and Dougie were tight, but he was straight up honest with me. He was like, hey, cousin, you got to put in the work. You know what I mean? Doug is my favorite, but you're my cousin and I love you. But until you show me, about taking over the gloves and you could be responsible enough, you got to put in the work. And that's what I had to go ahead and do. And you're talking about confidence, you had to have it around St. George's at that time. When you're talking about Noel Gibbons and Charlie Marshall and Cleve Reed, these guys are right now at the top of the game. And you're walking into the team, and if you had any insecurities, that wasn't a place for you. That wasn't a place for you. You had to leave. And so a lot of the times I would look at Clay fearless, like, Clay would be just like, look, I'm going to show you guys how it's done. I'm like, this is Clay. Did Clay take something? I was like, this guy, like, what?
Yeah.
What? And that's why today, like, when he speaks, like, Muhammad Ali, his fearless.
Yeah.
And there were times when Clay will go to the wicket amongst men. He will go to the wicket and says, look, let me show you guys how it's really done. Now, you could call it what you like.
Right.
How could you not feed off of that? You know what I mean? How could you not? And he used to embrace every situation. So that's what the change room was about at that time. So like you said, like I tell you, if you lack confidence, that wasn't the place for you. You might as well just say, look, I just want to be reserved today.
One thing, Dennis, watching these guys grow up in the team, you could almost determine what mood they were in when they were coming to the wicket. Because from the pavilion to the wicket, if they had a certain walk on, you knew it was business time. But there were other times where, you know, other things are going on and the walk isn't as confident or as fast as you would like it to be. And you say, okay, maybe it's going to take them a little longer today to get going and so forth. But you could tell by the body language in which you was about to be entertained, or either way you was going to be entertained, because it was either going to be out quick or the schoolboy was going to be decorated quick. So, you know, it was one of those things where you just take note of the demeanor of the player as he walked to the wicket. But what we're going to do is we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll be with Clay Smith and Dean Manas, a walk down memory lane. We'll be right back.
With perfect timing for the height of the summer, Greenhouse Bermuda brings us the island's newest iced tea, Newman's Own Organic Iced Tea in a kaleidoscope of delicious flavors. Most shoppers have seen Newman's Own in the condiment section, recognizable due to the founder's caricature prominently featured on the label, and many pick it up in the knowledge that 100% of the profit goes to registered charities. Newman's Own offers us a new refreshing thirst quencher, dry raspberry, lemon, peach, and passion fruit organic Newman's Own iced teas. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Clay and Dean. Well, let me ask Dean first. Dean, what was your most memorable partnership in the Classic, and with whom and why?
I would say 93. 93, it's a story behind that. 93, I was MVP. The night before, I was betting with Lionel Cann. The night before, we had to see the night out, and then we had to come back the next morning. The next morning, I was able to go ahead and get my highest scoring cup match, 83. But, you know, I was able to, you know, get a 50, but I was betting with Lionel. It's kind of funny because like me and Lionel have had many different partnerships because, you know, of course, he was betting down the order. I would say that probably that particular innings there in 93, and then there was another innings up at Somerset betting with Lionel, and we saw us get victory. I believe that was in 94. So, you know, Lionel probably in cup match, I probably betted with him a few times, and you know, we've actually gone over the line together. So that was probably my most memorable knock. The story behind the 93 cup match in 92, I tore my ACL playing at Old Dominion University. Once I tore it, I had to go recuperation, but you know, the whole time that I was getting rehab, I wasn't even thinking about college football. I was thinking about cup match. So in the 93 cup match, I played with a brace on my knee. So I was doubtful for playing cup match, but I worked it out so much that I wore the brace on my knee, and of course I played in cup match. But I would say my MVP 93 cup match, yeah.
Clay?
For me, is two different occasions. One, the first one is probably the Toughness in Georges. I think it was 92, and I was betting with my brother Randall, and both of us scored a century. It's funny because we were 29 runs away from the all-time record of getting the big highest partnership. You know, so I got 100, Randall got us 100. And then people was clapping, 200-run partnership, blah blah blah. So up until the time that I got my 100, that was a struggle. What was so good about it? I really struggled. That was like one of those hundreds where you never felt good until I probably got about 80, 90. Then I started to get my God hit me ball a little cleaner. So I got to 100, and I was like, "Want to go on a 200-run partnership?" I said, "What's he?" That's when I started talking to him. I said, "What's he rocking?" He goes, "Yeah, about 220." I said, "Listen, I'm gonna get that in 2 overs, but let me I'm in that mindset now where I'm just starting to feel good." So, you know, I hit somebody out to mid-wicket for 4. I think I hit a 6. I was like, look, just slow down. Take this in 1s and 2s. I said, "What?" I said, "Look, I can get this in 2 overs. I can have this score." Like, so, you know, I said, no problem. You know, the older brother has already coasted. I'll be honest, he coasted me to my 100 because, like I said, it was a struggle. So I backed off and took his one. And actually, you know, Richard Beers and trapped me out. I say, "George Francis, are you serious?" Yeah, George Francis gave me out. I think it was about, I don't know, 19 runs, 15 runs short of the all-time record, something like that. So that was that. And then I had some very good partnerships with Charlie. I had two very good partnerships with Charlie. I think Charlie and I also did maybe a 200-run partnership down in St. George's, where I got out again. But then the best one out of all of them, I think, well, not out of all of them, but the one that most memorable for me was up in Somerset. And D. Brown, I'm sorry I had to do this to you, but we were St. George's were on the ropes on the second day. At 11 o'clock, we were like 70 for 5. And we hadn't even passed Somerset school yet. The second is, and the fans were up there saying, this is going to be the quickest tea break. The game's going to be over by lunch and blah, 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 blah. I'm saying, well, is there any? I didn't even think you played that day, did you? Up in Somerset? Because I think it was any Lionel left, and maybe it was Gene left, and then Burles. And I'm saying, like, shucks, there ain't too much left. And me and Charlie end up betting for like 5 hours that day. And and end up seeing out a draw to the point that Jacoby does last 8 overs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You paid him more. Yeah. I remember that. We guys are putting
some of the people paid them off because they were so heartbroken.
We are putting some boys
honestly, I remember going to lunch and the fans were in us. Like, yeah, this game's going to be over in the next hour. This game, they'll run. Like, I'm saying, wow. I said, well, look, we're going to have to really put our heads down and battle this one. And, like, we literally batted for, like, 5 hours. Like, we saw 5:30. We saw the 6:30 and 20 overs show up. Like, yeah. You know, so there's what it is. What can I say?
Dennis?
Okay, how important, and before I get to the second question, I'm going to ask you guys the first question. Your first year in Cup match, what was your preparation like the week before, the night before? How did you feel about that? And then I'll go into my second question, whereby how important is mental toughness in cricket when things are not going so tough? Because nowadays you see guys crumble under pressure, and when you guys play those, like, you guys are so mentally tough. How important is mental toughness for you to go to another level? So the first one is your preparation for your first year in Cup match. How did you guys feel about that? And then the second part of the question is, how important is mental toughness for you to go to another level?
Well, for me, my first year in Cup match, I played at 16 years old. There was a big rift because I actually should have probably been away with the under-19 national team. So I knew there was a lot of expectations. You know, I put on myself, to be quite honest with you, because I'm saying, like, okay, I have to prove to these guys that I'm good enough and that I belong here. So again, with Rondo, we hit tons and tons of tennis balls. The morning of Cup match, we was up 6 o'clock in the gym hitting tennis balls. Then we left there. We went for a nice swim. That was like a pre-game type of thing, you know, because it was in St. George's. So we went down to Tobacco Bay, went for a nice swim, came in, had a good breakfast, and we were just meant to be prepared. We talked about all the bowlers. We knew who we had to face. So, yeah, that was pretty much our pre-game ritual and just going through the bowlers and who we was going to face and how we would look to bat them and how they would look to get us out and different things like that, you know?
Yeah, for me, it was 1988 was my first Cup match down in St. George's. And I think for me, the night before the game, you know, I always sort of just either listen to a little bit of music. I think about what I want to go ahead and do in the game, you know, the what ifs. I mean, always used to, you know, think about the what ifs. And, you know, I always felt that, you know, a good night's sleep is always so important, you know, the night before the game. So I try to clear my mind. I try to not have anything in my mind, so I could just get up in the morning and just focus. And, you know, I think that first morning of Cup match, you know, I live right across from the field. So, you know, stir, warmed up and ready. And in the warm up, for me, that's where I get my energy, you know, because of course, as a wicketkeeper, you know, I was always told that you're the drum beater in the team. So I knew I had to get a good night's sleep because, you know, if you look back at guys like Alan Douglas and Ricky Hill and all these guys, you know, Dougie would do something special throughout the whole day. And I had to be one to keep the team up when the game's flat. So where am I going to get that energy from if I'm up at night? So, there would be times during the course of the cup match, you know, Dennis, as you will know, I'm flicking off the bells and nothing's happening.
Mm.
You know, and making a whole lot of noise, and then
Mhm.
you know, all of a sudden you got Charlie and Clay chirping, and so the energy comes back. So that was very important for me as a keeper, to be always excited, like I'm on Red Bull or something, always excited. Mental toughness. I think you develop that over a period of time through the hardships, you know, through the low scores, through not winning, you know, those things make you, and of course, as Clay said, the expectations. So that mental toughness comes. You know, you have to, you grind it, and then you go back to the basics. Okay, I'm doing something wrong. I've got to go back to the basics. What am I doing wrong? And so that's where I developed that mental toughness. You know, to find out exactly. Okay, I'm gonna do extras. I'm either gotta go back to the basics. I'm gonna do extras. I'm gonna start living a certain way. So you look to identify, because, of course, you know, you get a high when you're sort of when you're on top of your game,
Mm.
and you want to live in. It's almost like you want to live in that zone all the time when you're on top of your game. So I always wanted to be on top of my game because I enjoyed the dominance of dealing with other teams. I don't have to say anything, but yeah, I'm better than you.
Yeah,
So that's where it came.
yeah. And for me, mine was a little bit different with regards to the mental toughness. It was, to me, it was, I always challenged myself. You know, I always had challenged myself, and like I said earlier, I have very high expectations of performance. So when I put in the amount of training that we used to put in, you know, I I used to show up, and I always tell the guys nowadays, even the same thing. I said, I'm not going to train 2, 3 times a week, plus do my extras, and then come to a game on a weekend and not perform. So it's like, to me, it was like, okay, I'm working all week. My training was like my work, and then the weekend was like my payday. You know what I mean? So on the weekend, I'm paying myself. I'm paying myself by putting in a good performance. So I used to challenge myself every single time I went to the wicket because I had high expectations. Like I said, Rondo was my first level of expectations. But then I also said, you know what, Clay? I want to be recognized. When people think of Clay Smith, I want them to think of one of the, if not the best batsman in Bermuda. Like that's the standards that I set for myself. So mentally, every time I went to the wicket, I had something to prove to myself. And there's nobody, and I had that mindset. Like you said, if people call it arrogance, I call it confidence. But I had that mindset, ain't nobody can get me out but myself. Sometimes I will get myself out by premeditating the shot, or being overconfident. I think, who was it? The coach, Bob Simpson, said that to me one time when he was playing for Bermuda, and he coached me. He says, you know what, son, you're a very good batsman, but you often get yourself out because it's almost like you get bored, like things become too easy for you. So you challenge yourself that much more to see if you could do this and see if you could do that. Just keep the game simple. Keep the game simple and you perform that much better. So as you go along, you learn these things. And but yeah, playing around, like they said earlier, playing around these guys like Neil. I'll tell you, the one player that really helped me to get match of the tough was Terry Burgess. Terry Burgess from Somerset, from Hamden Parish. Terry Burgess, when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, if it was one player that I hated to bat against, it was Terry Burgess. Terry Burgess used to get, if we played 10 times, Terry Burgess got me out 9 out of the 10 times. And I was just like, this can't happen. Like, I can't, in my mind, I'm saying, this can't happen. You have to rectify this. You know what I mean? So I would go to bed, if I'm playing Terry Burgess the next day, and I'm saying, okay, how am I going to correct this? And it wasn't until a game down St. George's where I said, okay, he swings the ball away. I'm always snicking him off. I said, you know what, I'm going to bat on off stump today. So at that stage, batting on off stump was unheard of. But I figured if I bat on off stump, he has to be a wide of off stump. I don't have to play at it. And believe it or not, I scored 100 that day. And that sort of mentally took me to a whole nother level. Okay, I'm overcame my biggest fear. Nothing else. I don't have to worry. I just went from there, grew from there.
I've got a question that would bring a smile to Dennis's face. What inning of a Somerset player did you guys most hate whilst you were playing?
That's easy. That is really easy. you know, Batsman.
Yeah.
And Albert Steed. For me, it was Albert Steed, man. And oh man, Steedy was oh man, he'll destroy. He would absolutely destroy. Okay, first of all, running between the wickets, hitting the gaps. Steedy would just accumulate. Mathematician. And I mean, the thing about it is he's constantly looking up at the scoreboard. So he's working out, and I walk across and, take a slow walk. I'm going to hear the conversation. And Steve would go ahead and say, well, he's got 2 more overs. Don't worry. He'll be getting tired in a minute. Yeah, he's got to come on. And he would calculate everything. And the guy was like, yeah, here's a headache, man.
You know what's funny about Albert? You know what's funny about Albert? Because Dean and I, I'll tell you, Dennis, because we're like that. Dean and I used to talk so much to players. Like we'll be talking like we'll talk guys out. But Albert, you could say whatever you want to Albert. Albert would just blank you, and it used to frustrate me because I'll be like saying, Dean, like I'll give you a prime example. Somebody will be betting up, and I'll say, Dean, I'll tell you what, Dean, I'll bet you 6 drinks this guy can't hit a boundary this over. He says, what? This guy's gonna beat the ball. This guy's this can hit chick over the boundary for 6. So we'll talk like this. I say, so at the end of the over, he wouldn't hit it. I said, thank you, Dean. I'll take this. The guy said, yeah, well, watch next over. Well, you want another bet, double or not for Dean? And the guy trying to chick for a 6, and he'll be out. So we'll be sitting laughing like, those are the things we would do. But Albert Steed, you could say whatever you want to Albert. Albert would just blank you. And I would just go along and just play. But here's a different type of player. And we used to get vexed because for some reason or the other, Albert, if Albert will give a chance early, and if you drop him, you can rest assured he's gonna make you pay.
You're in trouble.
It's gonna make you pay. And the one cup match that really stood out to me is St. George's. We were playing a game, and I went to George Frank because we have been studying Albert all season because he is the one player that we really put a lot of time into analyzing. And we came up again early in his game. He used to do half cup, and he'd get hit LBW. So as we're walking out to the game, into the wicket, George Francis is third, him and I think Spencer was umpiring or whatever. So I went by George. I said, George, I want to see how good of an umpire you are today. He says, what happened, Smith? I said, Albert's going to get hit first over, dead plumb. And I want to see if you're building enough to give Albert Steed out today. And I kid you not, the second ball of the game, Albert Steed got hit. I swear, I wish we had replay now. Because
Can't picture.
Hey, and we hollered. Everybody went up. And George Francis just shook his head and said, no.
Too much swing. Left-hander.
You don't want to score a big score.
Too much swing. Left-hander. Too much.
Whatever.
I was forced for the whole day. I had to take whole lozenges for about I just said everybody lost their voice box. I was like, what is that missing? So, yeah. But Dennis, I would definitely say, of course, Somerset team at that time was Albert. Albert was the, of course, the driving force. I mean, I didn't play much again with Richard, but you're talking about Albert, Rich, Jeff, those sort of guys that were, but Albert. I think he got everybody else good with confidence. He led by, from the front, and he was able to inject confidence throughout their whole team. So that's why we felt that we have to target him. Because if we target him and get him early, we send a message throughout the whole team.
Yeah.
We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with former Cup Match players, Dean Minus and Clay Smith. We'll be right back.
Nuco is a company impressively dedicated to the production of coconut concoctions. Their motto is coconuts for life, and however that resonates, it seems to have done the trick for vegan snack lovers. Nuco uses 3 ingredients in their wraps: pure organic and GMO-free coconut meat, coconut water, and unrefined virgin coconut oil. Nuco extols them as the all-natural alternative to bread and tortillas. This month we're featuring gluten-free Nuco organic coconut wraps in a 5-pack. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Dennis?
Yes, so the Steel Cup match. So when we talk about atmosphere, man, it seemed like you guys thrived on the big day. Like you guys were big day players. Like, um, take us back to what that atmosphere was like, and how you guys always thrived on the big day in cup match.
Well, for us, it was a little bit easier because when you think about it, Dean and I, we grew up literally on the boundary of St. George Cricket Club. So we grew up from the age of maybe 5 or 6, feeling it and seeing that atmosphere day in and day out when it came to cup match. So we always aspire to get to that level and to perform at that level. So when you come to cup match early and you're running around the field warming up, like that's when you get that vibe. Like, and you're like, yeah, I'm hurt. People, you know what I mean? People are cheering you on, and you're getting a good sweat, and you're building it up, and you're like, yeah, I'm come to perform today. And we had players in our team, like even in later years, like Glenn Blakely, I would say him, and Lionel Can. These guys are like, you guys probably didn't see it much, but you thought we were arrogant. These guys were like, Glenn would tell you, that hurt to watch me bet. Yeah, all these people out there, they'll come to watch me bet. And Lionel would tell you, yeah, all these people paid all their money, they're gonna come to watch me bet too. So yeah, you know, and that was the mentality, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was just a great feeling. And when you get to that stage, it's like, yeah, I'm ready to perform. I'm ready to put on a show. What better place to entertain than cup match?
I guess it started early, in the sense that when we guys were like 5, 6, or 7, we used to play down in front of the club where the players are coming out. So it's a little concrete strip there. So we'll go inside, run inside, and get these guys bets. So even during cup match, we guys are still on there playing in that little area. So even when we had the opportunity to be water boy for cup match, now water, you know, you got the cups. You know, players got the jug, you know, we're walking out and we're proud. We got our whites on, we're looking, you know, dapper, and you got the crowd and you could feel the atmosphere. And the players, you know, they're waving to different people. So, you know, here we are, got the cups, giving the cups to these guys. So we were able to get an early start on what it felt like, you know, to be on the field. And we were excited to be on the field. So I guess that really was the beginning of definitely wanted to be a part of cup match. And, you know, of course, you're sitting there all day watching players go in and out, players getting scoring runs. And then, of course, you're seeing the money bag coming around. Remember those days? You know, you see somebody walking around and filling up your money bag because this guy's got his 50. And then, you know, the guy's counting his money. And, you know, fans, I mean, even down there, fans used to be, like, you see fans crying, you see fans happy. And, you know, Dennis, honestly, back in that day, if St. George's lost, you know, it was like, it was bad in this area. It was really, it was bad because people were hurt. You know, people were really hurt. You know, you go to the store and they wouldn't even speak to you. You know,
take it personal.
Yeah, they take it personal.
Take it personal.
You know, you go ahead and normally you come in and say, "Oh no, don't worry about the 5 cents. Where's the 5 cents?" You know, it used to be that bad, and I, you know, Clay would tell you going downtown, they ain't speaking to you. So we used to be like, you know what, I don't even want to go out and have to wait for the next cup match because they used to take and personal, man. This thing was so deep. So you knew the expectations. And I'll tell you what, even going out at night before a league game, going out during a cup match, people will personally get up into your face. Yo, what are you doing out? It's time for you to leave. Yeah, but don't even serve him. Yeah, you know what you, like what do you got in your cup? They used to take it personal. And it make you feel so uncomfortable. You're like, you know what? I'm getting him. I didn't even want to be around her.
And so, one of the things, Earl, and you guys, because I was explaining to someone at the college last week, because she said, "Oh, you're still talking about cup matches." I said, "Let me tell you something. I was born into cup match. Born in Somerset, born into cup match, and I'll talk crap about is as long as I'm in it, I'll talk about cup match all year. And people don't really understand the significance of like the Somerset people and the St. George's people about how much cup match means to us. Like it's unreal. You know what I mean? People talk about Connie, your count is big, but cup match is like you said, I was born into cup match. My mom would take me to cup match like 3, 4, 5 years old. You know what I mean? And I enjoy cup match. You know what I mean? So people wouldn't know the significance of us, how we really feel about cup match.
Dennis, if I can chime in here, I totally feel you. And Dean would tell you, the first year I was captain, I lost cup match down St. George's. I was there down St. George's. No, up Somerset. First year I lost cup match up to Somerset. My very first year as captain, I was up Somerset and lost cup match. And if I didn't call in 365 days, if I didn't call Dean every single day, I planned every single day for the next year, starting that Saturday after cup match. I started writing teams down. In a year, if I didn't write 2,000 different teams down, I was at work finding myself writing a team down, saying no. Talking about the pitch, how we want to be pretty pitch, all sorts of different things. And Dean would say, Clay, you seriously, like, you're going overboard. Like, I'm like, hey, this is what it takes, but I'm gonna get this trophy back. And so said the next year they came to St. George's, we won the cup down St. George's. Okay. And he was like, wow, you actually did it by all that preparation, but it took a lot. But I mean, I didn't want to experience that again. I didn't want to experience that again.
I'm glad you brought that up, Clay, because you still got an outstanding bill for my telephone bill. I was working my budget. It's outstanding. But Dennis, no, I'm not even gonna lie to you. This guy, all right, and this is where like a level of respect that I have for him is he did that loss up at Somerset hurt him. And I could tell you the story now, but he planned. He everything that he mentioned to me when it talks about bowlers at certain times, when it came to field placements, when it came to a batsman. Do you realize that season, Clay used to call around and find out how batsmen got out?
Whoa.
Where he got out, he used to call around and to different teams. How did he get out today? He was doing that. How did he get out today? Oh, he got caught. Oh, mid-wicket. Who bowled him? Who got him? Whoa. And then he would pick players. He would go ahead and say, I need this guy on my team because this guy gets this guy out. So he was saying if he plays psychologically, he will get him out because he's already got that mental, edge over him. So again, he just went deep. And like you said, it worked out to perfection. At the end of the game and being a part of it, I just looked at him like strange. I'm like, this guy here is like, come on, you're going too deep in this thing. But he was, oh man, you're talking about details. God is there to, like you said, do the wicket. This is what I want. No. This is what I want at this end. This is what I want at this end. This is who's going to build at this end. This is going to build at this. Yeah. Then it was a. Yeah, man. Special. He got a lot of trees, mate.
Special. So
one second, and let me just say, because earlier you guys were talking about preparation, your first cup match and everything, but then as you know, these two grew up not even a stone throw away, but sand throw away because they could throw sand onto the field. Right. Hearing the noise, as we know, the night before cup match, there's always noise around the club as people are putting. And back then, it was always the skill saws and the hammers and all that going on right up until the morning of. So how much rest were you able to get knowing that noise was right outside your window?
To be quite honest, you didn't want to go sleep. You wanted to enjoy and embrace all of that. You know what I mean? I used to sit there and watch people, and you heard people playing music. You're like, yeah, by tomorrow's cup match, you was excited. Like, seriously, you used to be excited. I used to wake up. I used to wake up and say, Randall, you gotta carry a bag to the field. I get my brother's bag and carry his bag to the field and all that, because we was just so enthused and excited to know that cup match was like tomorrow. Like, you should look forward to it.
I used to carry. At that time, I think I had cleavers bag, so I would, of course, carry cleavers bag on. Again, like you said, once you get over your first, you always get butterflies, right? Because that's natural, right? But like you said, going over and hearing the construction, that's what I miss. The carpentry, how tents are going to be, set up, and again, that was the excitement of it all. And then, of course, when I got into playing, and I'm gonna say this, when I got into playing, there was one guy that used to be at the Somerset end, right, just to the right of the side screen, right. So and he says, "Not this shirt, DM minus, not this shirt," and he used to say this every cup match that I used to come up. So actually, all cup matches, every time he would let me know where he is, and he used to go, "Yeah, man, I had the gloves on," and he said, "Not this shirt." Yeah, and that used to welcome me into cup match when I used to come on the field and keep. Yeah, and the gentleman sitting right there.
Hey, he is trying his best.
Hey, yeah, you laugh. Hey,
Unreal.
Hey, see, I knew you was talking about it. So, hey, the hand there.
Yeah, he is.
Your third sturge, your third sturge. Okay.
Hey, first thing in the morning, I'm telling you, I was just like, here we go. Yeah. And I mean, it was this voice that projected around the whole field. Hey, said my name, a DM minus. I'm letting you know right now, not this cup match. And go right on, hey. And then you say, "Hey, Charlie." Yeah.
Yeah, I was good at talking.
Man.
Put a couple of glasses of water in me. I'm good at talking.
Hey.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay, so our cup match is basically done and dusted. Both of you had good national team careers. So tell us a bit about the national team, and then we'll get into you guys being roommates and stuff like that. We'll get into that later on. Talk to us about how, when we qualified for the World Cup. How did that feel for you guys?
In
2007, right?
2005, we qualified. 2005, we qualified.
Right.
Now, that was, I was actually captain going into that tournament. And I think the year before that, if I'm correct, I believe Albert and Dean had just retired from the senior team, and Richard Basin. So as captain, I was like, look, this is a one-shot deal. And I'm a strong believer in visualization. So I got Dean. I had a conversation with Dean. I had pulled Albert in, and I pulled Richard Basin. I said, listen, this is one opportunity. I got the cream of the crop. I need the best team possible. I need all you guys to come out. And I begged them. I talked to him. I begged them. And all of them came out. Unfortunately, Richard had a sore shoulder. Something happened to his shoulder that he couldn't bowl or whatever. So he made himself available. Then that happened, so he wasn't available. But Albert and Dean was still, keen, and they came out and played. And yeah, we went over to Ireland. And that team was, we knew, we could feel something was going to happen. When you got a group when guys are training 4 to 5 days a week, and you got 20 to 22 guys to every single session, challenging each other. Like I remember doing spinning, doing running, and everybody's trying to beat the times. Like guys were super fit, and the commitment level was like off the chain. You know what I mean? We knew something was going to happen. We knew something special would happen, and so when it did happen, it wasn't a surprise. But obviously, we totally enjoyed it. For me, it was bittersweet. You know what I mean? Obviously, I wanted to be a part of it. I tore my hamstring the very first game. I was out in batting with Albert Steed, and he called for a cheeky run. And Albert loves to run. So I'm backing way up. And then after 2 seconds, he shuts me down and said, no. So I turned around and tried to sprint back and pop against my hamstring. And I was like, okay. But I still was cheering these guys on game after game. And we got closer. As we got closer, you could feel the excitement. You could feel it. And I was like, wow, came down to the last game, USA. If we beat USA, we qualify. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, we didn't come this far. We didn't put this type of work in. And I'm talking about Dennis. I'm talking about work where the team was training 5 days a week. And on top of that, players, you will get groups of players going to the gym at 6 o'clock mornings on top of what we were doing, like 3 times a week. So like low clusters. So maybe 5 guys will go one day, 5 guys will go different. And that was the level of commitment that we put in to get that success, you know? So when it happened, it was just reward, pretty much. It was reward because we had earned it. We had really, truly earned it.
Yeah, my part was Clay came to me, you know, and he just said, you know, Dean, I have this, you know, we're gonna qualify. You know, I have this. And you know me at that time, you know, I was like, yeah, Clay, all right, cool. No, you know, and I was just like, yeah, you have this, yeah, okay. No, you just, you know, and he had this belief. But I tell you, and Clay would agree when I tell him this, the person that basically, I would say, really convinced me was his wife. His wife, Nick. She came and she was just like, you better listen to him because I believe it as well, that you guys are going to go ahead and qualify and do something special. And, you know, when Nick speaks, okay, all right, I got it. That's it, you know. And she was definitely the person in the background that was the driving force about getting this thing over the line and pushing him. And so again, everything started to actually go ahead and fall in place. And that's when I started to you know, see this thing and started to believe. So of course, you know, Randall took us to a point, and then Gus came in, you know, with this formula, and Clay and Gus, you know, working this formula, and it was just like, hey, I could feel it. You know, you started to feel it, and you look around, and of course, like I've always said, that Clay comes with this confidence, and he comes with this belief. So how can you not believe a man that's going to go ahead and say, look, we're going to get it done. Let's get it done. So everyone just bought into his whole philosophy. You know, with Gus and Clay working together, you know, we just bought in with the philosophy, and we just said, you know what, let's do it. Dennis, I remember one night, and Clay will remember this, when we first got to Ireland. We got to Ireland at 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. Unpacked our bags, got up to our rooms at 1:30. Gus Logie till the physio at the time, wake these guys up at 6:30 to go take them on a 3-mile run. Do you realize every single player was up at 6:30 to go on this run? No complaints, nobody complained. Mm-hmm. And I said to, you know, Gus later on, I said, hey, you're like, what was that about? You know, he says, no, I wanted to see how serious and committed you were as a team. And everybody was up. And that also played a part of mental toughness. So we knew at that time that we were ready. And whether people call it luck, whether people call it a gift, but guess what? At the end of the day, you make your own luck. Mm-hmm. You know, if you put the work in and you're rewarded. So, you know, and that's how the dream came to fruition.
So tell us a little bit about you guys' tenure as roommates at the national level.
It never existed.
Why was that?
Probably because they knew that we were best friends, and they, for whatever reason, the coaches never put us together. And as much as we used to beg them and say, you know what, like, come on, you guys are cool. Just like, no, you two can't be roommates. It's like, what? But that was the extent of it.
I think they're probably looking out for us. You know, we have different sleeping patterns. I like to stay up in the room. You know what I mean? Just, you know, Clay likes watching TV, so you know what I mean. We'll complain.
We'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that.
Yeah, you know how you get. You know what I mean. There's these adjustments. You know what I mean?
Boy. Okay, so another question, right? It's a big debate. 2020, in my estimation, cricket is going back a lot because we don't play enough open cricket. players don't know how to build their innings. Players are coming out nowadays, and when they swipe in the first and second overs, even in cup match, what did you guys take on the difference between not having open cricket and 2020? I mean, it is a place for 2020 here and there, but in my opinion, we're hurting a lot because we don't play enough open cricket. What's your guys' opinion on that?
Well, I'm going to give my honest opinion. Dean would tell you, I absolutely hate 2020. I don't even watch it. As much as they should on TV, I cannot even sit down and watch 2020. For some reason, it's just not my makeup as a player. And it doesn't do nothing for me. I'm more of a traditionalist. I love Test cricket. I love people who have to think people out. You know what I mean? And that's my makeup of the game. That's how I grew into the game. Whether or not open cricket, I don't think the sad thing is I don't think open cricket would work at the senior level in Bermuda because too many of our senior players like the shorter version of the game. However, I still think it's a place for it. I think maybe a under 20 league for open cricket or under 18 so that the young cricketers of Bermuda can still develop their skills. You know what I mean? I think they need to, a lot of them coming like I'll be honest, even when I coach, I try not to even allow some of my youngsters to bat in 2020 because it's going to bring them into bad habits. You know? So I would probably put them later on down the order so they come in as any one overs. No real expectations on them, but because I want them to take the time, I want to develop the game. So I think we need to find a way to play it, but just at a younger age, brother. Like I said, under 18, have an under 18 league or something where the young cricketers of Bermuda can play the longer version of the game. Because the older players, I can tell you right now, they are not. We tried it. I think my very first year I was at this board or whatever, and you find that all these senior players, even the national squad players, was not playing, and just allowing the younger cricketers to play in those leagues. So it sort of didn't have the same effect that you wanted to have, you know what I mean? But it's something that needs to happen, but from a younger perspective.
Good.
That's just my opinion.
Dan?
No, I totally support Clay's opinion. I feel the same exact way. So let's hypothetically look at it from a wicketkeeper's point of view. I've never heard of a wicketkeeper just, of course, wicketkeeping for an hour and a half for a 2020 game, and that's it. I mean, I love seeing keepers in the longer version of the game going up to the bowlers and talking strategy. I love, watching them for, of course, I can sit off and watch a test match all day. And, of course, watching batsmen develop, building innings, watching bowlers and keepers talking and those sort of things. So I miss that. The shorter version of the game doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I'll watch it through excitement, but just like it doesn't really do anything for me. But I would love to see Bermuda the same way with Clay saying I don't need to repeat it, but everything that Clay said, he is absolutely correct. We've got to get it for younger people, the long version.
Any final question, Dennis?
Yes.
Dennis,
Clay.
before you finish, what it does, it takes away the player's ability to think people out, especially bowlers. Because in this T20, you don't have to think guys out. You just have to, you run up and you bowl in the right areas. Half the time these batsmen get themselves out. But that longer version of the game, it makes you think a lot more. You have to think people out. Even betting wise, you're betting one guy and okay, well, he may be troubling you, and you say, well, he's only got 4 overs. I could just see this for, and then I'll take care of somebody else. But open cricket, this guy can bowl at you all day. So you have to figure out how am I gonna score for this guy's good ball. That's the difference in that level of cricket. Can I score off of a guy's good ball? Whereas I'm not gonna get a bad ball because I don't have to play battle against one of the weaker bowlers in the team. Where let's say growing up you had Terry Burgess and Pace Edwards and up firing at you all day. You're hoping that they get tired or something, but these guys are still charging. Then after that, you got Robert Hines coming at you. So the level is Like you have to figure a way to cope. You know what I mean? And that element is going now, is going out the door with this shorter version of cricket. You don't really have to think much. You just play. See ball, beat ball, as Dean would say.
One player I was impressed with for St. George's in Cup match this year was George O'Brien. He's not as fast as he used to be, but he's smarter with his deliveries. And this Cup match really showed me that he really thinks, and even in the Eastern Contest, that he really thinks the game now. And I was really, and I even sent him a note on his Facebook page about how I was impressed with his variation, because like I said, it's not as fast as he used to be, but he his delivery, has a lot of variations in his delivery, which I was very impressed with.
Yeah, George is, I mean, I rate George as the most intelligent bowler in Bermuda cricket right now, without a doubt. And I think he proved that this year, because a lot of people talk about George's weight or whatever and his fitness and all that. But I'm saying, okay, well, let him train, let him bowl in training, let him just bowl, let him get fit bowling in training. And he does that. And he did that a lot this year. In training, we trained a lot down St. George's, and he bowl and bowl and bowl. And, he got fit like that. But if you watch George bowl, he bowls a slow ball, he bowls a one pace, he bowls one pace, then he bowls a quicker one, he bowls one out the back of the hand. So he's always analyzing batsmen. And Cup match is no different, He's been, in my eyes, he will probably be one of the first names on the list when it comes to Cup match, simply because of his cricket intelligence. Right. As a bowler, too many bowlers tend to just, they bowl one way. But if the batsman overcome that, then what do you have next? How can you now get a batsman out if he counteracts the one thing that you have? George has about 3 or 4 different things that he can do with the ball. And we need more bowlers, to be quite honest with you. We need more bowlers throughout the island developing those type of skills, rather than just having one ball, being able to bowl 2 or 3 different types of balls, on a consistent basis. And that's why I think he's good at, because he does it consistently in the right areas.
Right.
And I'll be like one of those older fellas sitting on the sideline. Do you know who's that boy, Grandpa? Sam Painter, boy. That's where he gets it from, boy. That boy thinks like Sam Painter, boy. But keeping to George has always been a pleasure for me. Even when he was in the national team, I could always, you could see he's a thinking bowler. So I have a lot of respect for George. And like I said, if George was able to get fit, I mean, honestly, it will be scary. It will be absolutely scary. Yeah. But he is a talent. And actually, not only can George bowl, but he can bat. That's the thing. When he puts his head down, George can bat. So
So Dean, I'm gonna go one step further, Dean. We got 365 days anymore, but what a whole year to get George in tip-top shape, because George could ruin Somerset and win this trophy back. So it's a mindset. If we can get him in top shape, Dennis, I'm telling you right now.
I don't think so. Not in my lifetime, brother. Not right now, brother. Not right now.
I honestly believe it can happen, and I'll tell you what really convinced me. Connie Cup against Bayless Bay. Watch this guy come in and destroy, Tan Frey, Trey Manders, Rodney Trott, and just went right through these guys. And I'm saying, on what I thought was a good batting track, I'm saying these are Bermuda's top bowlers, top batsmen, some of the top batsmen, and there's all out for less than 100, I think it was.
100.
And I'm saying, if this guy can do this in Connie Cup, with that same Angie and some better players around him in Cup match, we have a chance of winning Cup match back. We really do.
We will have a batsman's wicket, brother. I'm telling you right now.
Bo, I'm feeling again. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
It's coming in again, Bo.
I'm just as confident as Clay, mate. I'm just as confident as Clay.
You know what I think, and what really what made this happen is now that St. George's went on and actually won the league, they now know what it feels like to win. Did you see the celebrations after the game?
I
So now
applaud
they
you
have
guys.
this winning feeling, right?
I applaud you guys. But what I'm gonna tell you is that we're still mad because we didn't beat you 2-1. So we're coming for that next year. So at the end of the day,
Dennis.
I hope
you ain't putting your mouth on something that might come back and haunt you.
Dennis, I can promise you.
We'll be ready.
I can promise you that's the last of 2-1. I've never seen a 2-1 in Bermuda. I've never seen. The year you guys beat us 2-1, I was in England watching my son play football. Okay. I refuse to say or watch it. So, and I won't see. I will never see Somerset.
We will remember that in 2022. We'll remember that, and we'll be together upstairs in the bar drinking water after that. After you choose one. Okay. My last question to you guys. It's been a pleasure. The advice for you guys to give to aspiring cricketers to go to the next level. What type of advice would you guys give?
Me, I would say put your work in, man. There's no other way around it. You have to train. You have to train. You have to, put your work in. Nutrition wise, fitness wise, mental wise. You can't just go out and do it. When you look back at all these great athletes, when you look at the Michael Jordans, when you look at these guys, that's 10,000 hours. You look at LeBron James, these guys, that's ours. We don't get a chance to see a lot of these cricketers like Joe Root and Virat Kohli behind the scenes. But I can almost guarantee you, these guys are putting in hours of training. And it could be an hour and then they leave and come back tomorrow, put in 2. But you have to accumulate that time to put in training. It's never going to work. So you really have to go ahead and put in that discipline and put in that work ethic, because it's not going to work, man. It's never going to work, but not be able to get to that next level. So you could have all the skill, you could have all the talent, you could have all that, but if you don't put in the work, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Dean just said, and I'll just piggyback off of that because. And I'll say this thing. To me, I think it's important to have somebody in your sport that you look up to, that has very good habit, that has really good habits. For me, growing up, I used to idolize Graham Gooch. I read Graham Gooch's books. I watched videos of him. I done everything when it came to stuff like that. So I know this guy's a gym fanatic. He loved this gym. He loved putting in his hours in the gym. I watched, like I said, it's all about the work ethic and how bad do you want it. So you have to set high standards for yourself, and you have to set high standards for yourself. And like Dean said, nothing comes about hard work. In order to get to that next level, and when I say next level, I'm not talking about Bermuda. I'm not talking about playing in Bermuda. I'm talking about playing internationally. Because sometimes we set our standards too low. Guys say, I'm happy to be MVP in Bermuda or whatever. Okay, well, I want you to be happy being the best MVP on the tour, playing against Hong Kong and USA or Canada. Like, elevate your game to that next level. Challenge yourself to be better than what you've ever been before. You know what I mean? When you put those type of challenges on yourself, you have an expectation and a desire to work harder than you've ever worked before. You know what I mean? And once you put that type of work in, it's that much harder to fail, because you work so hard that you don't want to fail. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And failing is like not an option for you. So I just encourage guys to really have high expectations of yourself, but know what it's going to take to get to that next level. It's going to take a lot of hard work.
Dennis, you've been entertained by St. Georgians?
Yeah. Yep, very good. Very impressive. They didn't disappoint. They didn't disappoint me.
Okay.
Very impressive.
But Earl, before we go, I think this evening it will be a fitting tribute. This whole show and doing it, we want to dedicate this here to Ross Lerner.
Yes, is any right?
Rest in peace. Ross was a very loyal St. George's supporter, but also he supported Clay and I all the way through our career, and just his support was unwavering. So we just wanted to thank you, coming on. But like I said, this definitely was for Ross good on memory lane.
And is there any right to, but Dean, is there any right, especially since we have Earl? Earl, I hope you don't mind this, because Earl used, Dennis, what you don't know, right? Earl had a crew back in the day, the best supporters ever.
You didn't gotta know that?
They used to have the president singing, but it's president. I think it's
the president.
Huh?
The president.
The president.
I know the crew. Oh yeah.
We used to go and entertain Dennis as well.
Of course. That's what it is, man. Unbelievable.
What, just one verse?
One verse. We have. Is there any fitting that we give a verse for Ross Dillon? Is there any fitting?
Okay.
St. George's boys. Come on, Dennis, help us.
Dennis is not singing.
George's boys forever. Come on, Dennis.
I'm not singing George's song,
May stay St. George's
boys forever.